Donald Trump moves fast to revive the Keystone Pipeline, what it means for cross-border relations and Canada's climate commitments. Pipeline cleanup in Saskatchewan. Why did the province wait days to disclose this leak? Oscar nominations, no longer so white, and notably Canadian. Plus, 25 years ago, Roberta Bonder blasted into history with so much riding on her shoulders.
I look at it not as pressure, I look at it as the time to shine.
We haven't talked much lately about the proposed Keystone XL pipeline project. For years, it was a flashpoint between governments and environmentalists, oil producers and workers, and more, both in Canada and the United States. Remember this?
My view is that you don't take no for an answer.
Well, Canada got a no in 2015 from Barack Obama, who blocked the project. It was to carry crude oil from Hardisty, Alberta, to the Texas Gulf Coast. So now that Donald Trump has brought the project back to life, what does that mean for the Canadian portion of the project? Katie Simpson begins our coverage tonight from the Liberal Cabinet retreat in Calgary.
We're going to renegotiate some of the terms, and if they'd like, we'll see if we can get that pipeline built.
And with that, the Keystone XL pipeline was given new life. Donald Trump's administration wants the project back on track as quickly as possible, as long as certain conditions to be determined by the president are met.
If we're going to do all of these things to expedite these projects that go over or under a piece of, U.S. soil, that the American taxpayers considered in this process.
The conditions didn't seem to cause any worry for the Prime Minister and his cabinet.
In both the conversations I've had with President Trump now, Keystone XL came up as a topic, and I reiterated my support for the project. We know we can get our resources to market more safely and responsibly while meeting our climate change goals.
Despite those conversations, no one gave Canada the heads up Trump was making this announcement today. Still, it is a sign of cooperation with the new U.S. administration. But the opposition wasted no time criticizing the plan over environmental concerns.
On Keystone, it's not clear why Justin Trudeau is pushing to revive a pipeline that will export Canadian jobs and has never been properly reviewed.
The Environment Minister says there will not be a new environmental review, even though the project was approved nearly 7 years ago.
This was a decision that was made by the previous government, and now it's up to the U.S. administration.
The next move is up to energy giant TransCanada, which confirmed it will reapply for a permit. If the project gets off the ground, it will be the third pipeline to move forward under the Liberal government.
If you add those jobs to the pipelines that have already been approved, then you're looking at literally 25, 30, 35,000 jobs for Canadians.
Trump's announcement could turn into an economic win for Trudeau. And after the positive discussion Cabinet had with a top Trump advisor at this retreat, it looks like the new Canada-U.S. relationship is off to a pretty strong start. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Calgary.
For a province that has suffered huge blows to its oil industry in recent years, the revival of Keystone XL would have a huge economic impact on Alberta, both in the industry and in spin-off jobs. But some wonder if it will all be too high a cost for the environment. Briar Stewart has that part of the story.
And where does Canada fit in all this?
The timing could not have been better. Today, a Washington-based consultant spoke to Edmonton's business community. His talk entitled, "The Trump Regime, Can There Be an Alberta Advantage?" But even he's unsure about whether Keystone XL will be built.
Right now, I would say probably 50-50.
Will Trump revive the pipeline project? He wants to renegotiate its terms and conditions. What exactly that means is unclear.
TransCanada is going to have to lead this file. It's their project, and they've been working it through the system to this point, and now they've cleared a hurdle, but there's more work to do, no question.
Keystone XL is expected to create a few thousand jobs in Canada and as many as 28,000 in the United States.
That brings about a different level of progress than what we've seen before.
Alberta Premier Rachel Notley says Keystone was never a priority as her government has been focused on pipelines that would bring Canadian oil to Canadian coasts. But times have changed.
We're not at $100 a barrel anymore. And so anything that will lift that price, that will reduce the differential and get more for our product and bitumen is something that the economy needs right now.
There will likely be more legal challenges, but this former TransCanada executive believes the project can overcome those.
I believe that the Trump administration would have actually done its due diligence in terms that these executive orders will pass muster against those. But yes, that is going to be a potential that could delay the project moving forward as quickly as possible.
Keystone has been a target of fierce protests.
This is what democracy looks like.
Late today, a few hundred people gathered in front of the White House, and some are wondering just how this new pipeline fits with Canada's environmental goals.
It certainly challenges the credibility of what Canada has committed to in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and Alberta with its climate leadership plan.
Alberta's premier insists that Keystone isn't about extracting more oil, but shipping it more efficiently to the U.S. But there is nothing streamlined about this project's fate, considering that it was proposed nearly a decade ago. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Edmonton.
As we mentioned, Trump also resurrected the Dakota Access Pipeline project today. It was to be built under a Missouri River reservoir near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. Construction was halted in December. The move was a huge victory for hundreds of protesters who had camped on the site for months. At the time, the U.S. federal agency involved said it would explore alternate routes for the pipeline's crossing. The Dakota Access would carry crude oil from North Dakota to Illinois. The bosses of America's big three automakers met the president this morning. The message from the meeting, no surprise, build more cars in the United States. But what it means for Canada's auto industry is less clear. Renee Filipponi has that story.
It was all about America first and bringing jobs back to the U.S. as President Trump sat down with auto industry execs.
I want to just thank you all for being here.
He suggested ways to encourage U.S. investment, including easing environmental regulations.
He is very focused on policies that will grow investment and jobs.
Also on the table, plans to renegotiate NAFTA and talk of tariffs. And that raises obvious concerns here. What does Buy American mean for the Canadian auto industry?
That says that you want everything back in the States, so what does that do for us?
It's just more adversity for us.
The lack of clarity from the U.S. isn't making it any easier to predict consequences, but history can serve as a lesson.
The U.S. did introduce a Buy America program in the aftermath of the 2008-9 recession, and that did have a deleterious or negative effect on the Canadian economy,
including job losses. The Canada-U.S. auto industries are highly integrated and have been that way for decades. Manufacturers here say any tariff would hurt everyone.
Adding 20% every time it crosses, which on average for an auto part is 6 or 7 times, adds a ridiculous amount of cost.
Auto companies have already committed more than $1.5 billion for Canadian investment during the latest union negotiations. The question now, will that level of commitment continue?
Well, I'm not as concerned about it as others.
The union believes Trump's focus will not be on Canada, but Mexico and Asia. And that's because of cheap labor there and the fact they sell more cars to the U.S. than they buy.
We really do have balanced trade with the United States. We build more cars in Canada than we sell, but the majority of the parts come from the United States.
An aluminum prototype mold that we're building for Jeep.
For this Windsor area parts maker, the most important thing when talking about the future of the auto industry here is Canada an ally or an enemy in Trump's eyes?
I would tell him that the Canadian economy also sacrificed alongside the U.S. economy. So that puts us in the same category as ally.
A lot of questions weighing heavily on a big Canadian industry, as answers and clarity for now seem to be hard to come by. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Toronto.
President Trump met with U.S. congressional leaders last night and he repeated his false claim that voter fraud kept him from winning the popular vote. That led one Republican to suggest Trump seems obsessed.
So I would urge the president to knock this off. This is the greatest democracy on earth. You're the leader of the free world, and people are going to start doubting you as a person if you keep making accusations against our electoral system without justification.
Graham said claiming unsubstantiated voter fraud will erode Trump's ability to govern the U.S. The Supreme Court of the United Kingdom threw a roadblock at Theresa May today, saying the British Prime Minister must get parliamentary approval to begin an exit from the European Union.
The Supreme Court rules that the government cannot trigger Article 50 without an Act of Parliament authorising it to do so.
Article 50 is the formal notification of intent to withdraw from the EU. Legislation could be introduced in Britain's House of Commons later this week. Coming up, Canada's Roberta Bonder shares an untold story from space.
I took all my clothes off and I tucked up in a ball.
Why on earth did she do that? Plus, should a university help to discredit psychiatry? It's the latest from our new Viewpoints series. The cleanup continues in southeast Saskatchewan tonight. A pipeline leak there left 200,000 liters of crude oil spilled onto mainly agricultural land. The oil was discovered a short distance from Stoughton on the Ocean Man First Nation. As Stephanie Skenderis discovered, people there smelled it long before the spill was found.
I'm a chief, but I don't like to.
Peter Bigstone is used to the smell of oil on Ocean Man First Nation. He says his water has smelled like it for years. He's worried about what a spill like this could mean.
I got a lot of horses here. I wouldn't want my horses to be affected by the drinking water that they have. And when that snow melts over there, how am I to be sure that it helped everything, all the oil spill?
Calgary-based Tundra Energy Marketing is paying to clean up the spill. It hasn't confirmed it's the company's pipeline that leaked, but says it's likely.
We are working with the environmentalists. They're doing air monitor testing on a regular basis. There's no potential harm to the public around us or environment. We've got everything kind of contained and fenced off, and so everything's good right now.
Tundra says it monitors its pipelines on a regular basis and did a flyby last Tuesday, but it was someone from the community who spotted the spill.
Tundra Energy Marketing says they notified the government of this spill on Friday when they heard about it. So the question now is, why did it take so long for the government to tell the public?
The province only announced there had been a leak on Monday afternoon.
The priority needed to be containing and beginning the cleanup, and also to determine and to ensure that there wasn't a hazard to the public or to waterways, to streams or creeks in the area.
But Tundra's pipeline isn't the only one running under Ocean Man. There are at least 3 pipelines here, some from the 1960s, and some worry this could happen again.
Wear and tear causes things to break down. I'm hoping that the company will be around to deal with the after effects or any residuals that arise from this incident.
The government says there will be an investigation. Stephanie Skenderis, CBC News, Ocean Man First Nation.
Israel has approved the construction of 2,500 new housing units in the West Bank. The announcement follows the approval Sunday of some 500 units in East Jerusalem. Palestinian officials denounced today's announcement. Last month, a United Nations Security Council resolution condemned the settlements. It passed when the U.S. decided not to exercise its veto. Of course, Washington now has a new administration. Russia, Turkey, and Iran have ended 2 days of talks aimed at solidifying a ceasefire in Syria. The 3 nations agreed to a trilateral monitoring body. The UN insists it should remain the conflict's primary dealmaker, but its representative to Syria said today's decision could be a helpful step forward. Only 12 people have walked on the moon. Today, the final man to set foot on its surface was honored.
An excellent aviator,
and an outstanding astronaut. Perhaps the best representation of a patriotic American this country has.
The commander of Apollo 13 was among those to pay tribute to Gene Cernan. He died last week at age 82. Cernan spent 22 hours on the lunar surface in 1972 and believed he held the title of last man to walk on the moon far too long. Ontario brought them in 3 weeks ago. Now calorie counts on restaurant menus may soon expand, with some fast food chains set to post them nationally. The goal is to encourage healthy eating, but will it work? Health reporter Christine Birak has a look.
Some of the numbers are jaw-dropping.
Whatever I wanted was about like 900 calories, and I'm like, whoa.
Pizza, snacks, pasta.
We usually get this like Asiago penne pasta, and we didn't notice how much calories are in it.
Over 1,000, and you only need about 2,000 a day.
It was a lot of calories, yeah. So I was like, nope.
That's the guilty feeling, but sometimes you just don't care.
For chains with more than 20 outlets in Ontario, calorie counts are now mandatory. The province's health minister is proud to say some fast food and coffee joints are now posting them right across the country.
It's one more tool in the pocket of a consumer to allow them to make that informed choice, that decision, ultimately.
The question is, how much power do calorie counts really have over us? Public health experts say evidence from major American cities shows it depends.
It doesn't change people from unhealthy eaters to healthy eaters.
For younger or lower income consumers, price often beats calories. Still, some do shift.
It's really about a third of us that actually use that information to change what we order.
And some will shift back over time. But experts insist the real benefit from calorie counts may not come from people changing their eating habits. It's from businesses changing their food.
A lot of companies look at those numbers and decide to reformulate. If they reduce the fat or the calories in what we're being offered, that can have a lasting impact.
A big pizza chain in southern Ontario says if calories influence sales, they'd look into it.
We'll have to dig into it a little further. Is it based on calories or based on something else? We haven't seen anything at this, it's kind of early still.
Shock value aside, perhaps the biggest criticism of calorie counts is that they don't tell you how nutritious something is. A bag of chips can have fewer calories than an avocado. So while most would agree that calorie counts are a good start, they don't often tell the whole story. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
If that whets your appetite for more information, you can join a Facebook Live session tomorrow. Just go to the National's Facebook page. Christine will moderate a discussion with two experts taking your questions on healthy eating. It's set to begin at 12:30 Eastern Time. Well, the short list of the year's best performances in film was announced this morning. It was Oscar nomination day. Canadians both in front of the camera and behind the scenes got the nod. And as Eli Glasner reports, this year's nominations may also reflect an important change.
Dr. Banks?
Now that's a proper introduction.
From the eerie alien film Arrival to the buoyant blockbuster La La Land, Canadians were at the heart of some of this year's most nominated films. London, Ontario's Ryan Gosling whistled his way to his second Oscar nomination with the role of La La Land's struggling pianist. It was the sophisticated, artful direction of Montreal's Denis Villeneuve who brought Arrival to the big screen. While the Academy tends to shun sci-fi films, Arrival landed 8 nominations, including Best Picture and Director. Speaking from Los Angeles, where he's working on the Blade Runner sequel, Villeneuve shared the credit.
Basically, it was like 95%, 97% of the crew was from Quebec. So it's like a huge Canadian input in the movie. I mean, it's like it was made, it's a Canadian movie made with American money.
It's Maui time!
There was also Oscar love for Canadian animators. Moana, co-directed by Canadian Chris Williams, is in the running for Best Animated Feature, while in the animated short category, 3 out of the 5 films feature Canadian directors. But besides Canadian fortunes, today's announcement also signaled an important change. For the past 2 years, every single actor nominated was white. This morning, out of the 20 acting nominations, 7 were actors of color. Whether it's Moonlight's director Barry Jenkins or Arrival's cinematographer Branford Young, this year's Oscars has the potential to make history. Professor Darnell Hunt has been examining the issue of race in Hollywood before the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite started to trend.
It used to be that, the white audience was the main audience and everything else was icing on the cake or gravy, Not so in 2017, and certainly not so going forward.
Fire in the hole! While the representation of female directors and Asian and Latino roles continues to be an issue, Hunt points to the success of the Fast and Furious franchise. With a multiracial cast and an Asian American director, it raced to the top of the box office, showing diversity is about more than the Oscars. It could be the industry's way forward. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Straight ahead, Canadian astronaut Roberta Bonder. A new generation meets a woman with the right stuff. Time to check the day's business numbers. The TSX rose 130 points. The dollar went up 0.6 cents. In New York, the Dow gained 112 points. The Nasdaq hit a record high. And the price of oil closed up 43 cents a barrel. It's been 25 years now since Dr. Roberta Bonder rocketed into history. As Canada's first female astronaut and the first neurologist to soar into space, she's not one to grab the spotlight, but a lot of young Canadians are keenly aware of all that she has accomplished. And that's why she's part of our series, The Next Canada. It's a look at the forces shaping this country as we approach its 150th birthday. Tonight, Red Sharon gets a first-hand look at this stellar inspiration.
This is the NTD conducting the launch. Status check.
Are you ready to do this?
Ready to do it.
All right.
Let's go.
We have go for main engine start. 3, 2, 1. Solid motor ignition and liftoff.
It's another successful blastoff for Dr. Roberta Bonder. Another mission has begun.
All hands on deck. Cool.
Today, she's with the students of Parkdale Junior and Senior Public School in Toronto.
This is the photography club.
All part of her legacy as Canada's first woman in space.
Nice selection. Any one of the three would have been great to talk about.
In the past 25 years, there have been thousands of students just like these, hanging on her every word.
Your imagination still has to make your brain work.
All because of a dream that started when she was just a kid herself. From the time she was a sparkle in her father's eye growing up in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, to becoming part of a twinkle in the night sky, it's been quite a ride.
Space became such a passion of mine that from birthdays and holiday giving, I would receive a plastic model rocket set. If I had had those rockets that you have today where you can actually fire them off, oh, I'm sure I'd have had quite a collection.
There were the science fairs and then her university work. She swam her way through a Bachelor of Science in Zoology and Agriculture, a Master's in Experimental Pathology, as well as a Doctor of Medicine and of Philosophy in Neuroscience. By the time the ad first appeared in the paper back in 1983, Dr. Bonder was more than ready.
I think I was the second application in Ottawa. I think there was at that time probably was a 70-year-old grandmother who had always aspired to be an astronaut too, had beat me there, but I was one of the first.
From the over 4,000 applicants, eventually 19 were chosen, and just one was a woman, Dr. Roberta Bonder. She trained long and hard for almost a decade, always keenly aware of what it meant to be the first and what it could potentially mean to fail.
That is always a concern that a pioneering person has, regardless of which gender it is, into something where there really hasn't been that particular representation before.
Sure. Tremendous amount of pressure, though.
I think it's, I look at it not as pressure, I look at it as the time to shine. I look at it as a time where people really need to see that there is no reason why we shouldn't be doing these things.
And doing it she was on January 22nd, 1992, which dawned the most beautiful of days. And when she looked up on her way to the launch pad to hear and see CBC reporter Eve Savory, the excitement of the moment hit her.
She had the Canadian flag, and she had a small Girl Guides of Canada flag, the trefoil, that she had in one hand over the end of it, and that just set me off. It was great.
Yeah, you were beaming.
To see that flag, it was amazing. And you know, I had a Canadian flag on my sleeve, and I wouldn't get my official crew picture taken till I got a Canadian flag in there.
And then
we're continuing to look at the field mill situation and also at some clouds that are in the vicinity.
A 50-minute delay, tightly strapped into a very large bomb.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
With shades of what happened to Challenger almost 6 years ago to the day before dancing in her head. Did that slip into your mind?
Challenger absolutely did. I hate to say it, we were crazy enough to be saying, hey, you know, if we lost one engine, we'd be on the Guinness Book of Records for the fastest transatlantic crossing. I mean, you get silly nutty because you have to somehow diffuse. Mm-hmm. You have to still be focused, but diffuse this, and we all do it with humor.
Sure,
we
it's
try
gallows humor, isn't it?
Absolutely gallows humor.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery.
When we went through that 2 minutes and 6 seconds when the solids were on, it was a time when the whole thing shakes unbelievably. And it was that time that I really realized how rudimentary this thing was. It was a tin can and we were in the middle of it. The whole thing's shaking and you can hardly hear anything. I mean, the sound of the solid fuel bursting and everything behind, and the acceleration force increasing and increasing and increasing.
Discovery Houston, you are go at throttle up.
When the two solids fly off, I mean, we're all singing the praises of this wonderful technology, and we're still alive.
At close to 28,000 kilometers an hour, astronaut Bonder could watch a sunrise every 45 minutes, and in 8 days, 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 44 seconds, travel almost 5 million kilometers.
Go ahead, Space Lab.
Their mission was to explore the effects weightlessness impacted on living organisms, including themselves.
Being in microgravity and having all the fluids float back up to the heart, back up to the head, I mean, you get a very distended face. So you get a great facelift. You get these skinny bird legs. Cellulite disappears. I mean, there's all kinds of changes in the way fluid is distributed in the body.
I think I need to go to space. All kidding aside, working in the International Microgravity Laboratory was complicated, important work. But it wasn't all work. Dr. Bonder, an accomplished photographer, did take the time to capture some stunning views from space. And something that's never really been publicly revealed, took a moment to recreate the ending of one of her favorite movies, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
When I was in the galley area, which was where we dressed as well, I pulled the louvered curtains around because I always did that for privacy. And there was a porthole that you could actually see the Earth. There was a window right there. And it was about this big. And I remember was changing my clothes. I took all my clothes off and I tucked up in a ball without anything touching me, like that embryo at the end of the movie 2001. And I just rotated in full view of the planet. It was my homage to Arthur C. Clarke.
Wow.
I've always liked this panoramic format because it really reminds me of looking out the window.
Back on Earth, photography has been an ongoing passion, on display in the many books she has written and through her foundation, a way to reach out and inspire, to engage young people. It's a responsibility passed along by her parents.
These traveled in space.
They traveled in space.
And by the Girl Guides.
Yes. So this is the first set of wings that I had, that I grew up with. These are ones I flew from brownies to Girl Guides.
It's not something she takes lightly. There are now half a dozen schools named after her. She was the first astronaut to have a star on Canada's Walk of Fame. And there is now her own commemorative coin.
But it is a beautiful rendition of what the Earth does look like from space.
I'll flip you for it.
And sometimes, all it takes is a simple question in a crowded gymnasium to remind her how privileged she has been.
I was in my blue flight suit on the stage, and this little girl comes up to the microphone. It was in the winter, and she has her boots on and her coat, and she's cranking down the microphone, and she says, "Tell me, Dr. Bonder." And I thought, no, what's she going to do? She says, "Tell me, Dr. Bonder, what's it like to be loved by everybody?" Well, like, you know, my mother was in the front row. My father had died just before the Challenger accident, and it was all I could do to keep it together. So when we talk about responsibility of being a pioneer, it's not just about having done it. It's about the life you create afterwards. What do you do with that? What do you do with that grand experience that you are been privileged to have had? Have you got a picture up here?
Which leads to this morning. Every student is given their moment to shine.
Hey, Rosa. Round of applause, Rosa.
Through the Roberta Bonder Foundation, this school was equipped with cameras and a challenge. Reflect the world around you through the lens. Become inspired by your environment, just like she was.
This just brings us right into here. So
just ask 13-year-old Farouz Zamaluddin.
She's a woman of many talents.
An inspiration.
Yeah. I look up to her like almost every day.
Or Akira Nasokamer.
So you're into this now?
Yeah.
How about being an astronaut?
I don't know. I think that'll be too hard for me.
That's a little bit out in space?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
None of these kids were even born when Space Shuttle Discovery blasted off with Canada's first female astronaut.
Awesome. Perfect. You're the leading lines.
25 years later, she too gets inspired.
It's wonderful. I just love that energy, and it's focused on them. I hate to use that word, but really, it's all about their photography. It's about their life and this moment in their life.
Even a journalist can find themselves being caught up in the excitement, especially when an astronaut insists on this.
I like it.
It's not, there. So yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
so we should have a picture
it's sort
like
of,
that.
as long as we don't have to do it up.
So I have a bonder button for each of you.
Another successful mission for Canada's first woman in space. Red Sharon, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Dr. Bonder certainly made her mark as part of the NASA team, but imagine if she had been in charge of it.
My feeling has always been that instead of space station, we should have gone directly to the moon. By now, we would have had laboratories.
Coming up, we sit down with Dr. Bonder, but it's not exactly a one-on-one because it's her fellow Canadian astronauts who pose the questions.
ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery.
You know, I got lots of questions for you. I could sit here all day and ask you questions. But we thought of something that would be a little different, and that was not to go out on the street, not to go into schools, but to ask some of your fellow astronauts what their question to you would be.
No,
so,
really?
Yeah, so I want
they
you to...
remembered me, did they?
They absolutely do. So I want you to watch this. Bob Thirsk is the first one.
Roberta, hypothetically, if a Mars human exploration mission were to be launched in the near future, and our international partners invited Canada to participate, what role would you recommend for our nation in that extraordinary mission?
Mars. Now, I've heard you talk about Mars.
Well, I guess there's a tongue-in-cheek one and a reality one. The tongue-in-cheek one is that they've been talking about sending couples into space. I've always felt it should be a Canadian lawyer that goes. But I think really, because we're always peacemakers, right?
Yeah.
And the other role I think that's really important, and certainly Bob has been the longest staying Canadian on space station, and he is a physician. He knows quite well what needs to be done, is the aspect of medical care in space. And I think that because we have this background in engineering, that's a great thing to have. But I think that long-term space flight, there are going to be things that we have to deal with, whether they're psychological or whether they're really deep medical issues. It'd be kind of nice to have a Canadian physician on board. I think that's my bias. If perhaps Mark here, he'd probably think it was engineering in case some widget got broken. It's easier to teach engineering, I think, than to teach medicine. But that's my bias.
But you know, that's not going to be cheap to go to Mars. Is it worth the money?
I think in the long run it will be. My feeling has always been that instead of space station, we should have gone directly to the moon. By now we would have had laboratories. We would have been having the experience of what we need in terms of communication systems. We'd have a better, instead of putting people at the bottom of an ocean as aquanauts, we'd have people really on the moon to stage these things. And I think before we go to Mars, we really have to look at that. And I think that people who go to Mars should have some proper training and experience in space. And in terms of longer duration flights, I just don't think space station provides us all the answers to be able to go to Mars in a safe, ethical manner.
Let's see who's next. Chris Hadfield.
Roberta, a question, if you will. Where do you think Canada and Canadians should explore next?
Well, you know, explore as opposed to go back to. Mm-hmm. So what would the answer be?
Is that a space explorer or Earth explorer?
I think, well, you know, Chris.
Yeah,
space
speak
Earth.
to us, Chris. Oh, seriously, if he meant space, then I think that I'd still go for the moon first, and I think that's a reasonable thing. If it was,
and when you say go to the moon, you say go to the moon and live on the moon.
Live on the moon and explore the moon. Have science laboratories that won't have to come down in another 5 years. That there can be international collaboration because it's going to be expensive to go to Mars. So I think that when we look at what we're going to explore next, I think there are questions we have to ask ourselves. What are we gaining by that exploration? It usually has to be something that's of value to us as a life form. I mean, if it was a general question about exploration, I'd say the oceans and the Arctic are very important areas for us to understand more about the life cycles on our planet and our ecosystems. If it was off the planet, I'd say, hey, the direction is up. So I think maybe going to the moon first would be a great thing. Many things to find out about bone loss, etc. So I harp back on space medicine, but hey, we're living cells sort of glued together, and it's very important that we understand what radiation effects are going to bother us on the way to Mars.
All right, let's see who's here. This is Jeremy Hansen. He's in Texas, one of our current astronauts who hasn't been up yet, but is very excited to go. So let's see what his question is.
Rapidly evolving space technology is creating an excitement in the air as we realize more Canadians will be flying in space in the future. And so my question for you, Dr. Bonder, is what advice would you give us, future explorers, to prepare ourselves to make the most of that incredible experience?
The answer for me is one that I give for many things I've been asked about, and that's how I become an astronaut, etc. I think we have to keep our curiosity that we've had since we were young. Otherwise, it becomes very flat. So to have the three-dimensional experience and the excitement, we really have to embrace, I think, all areas of education. And people may think this is a nutty answer, but if we stick just to science and technology, we really miss a lot of the ability to add creativity to that science and technology. And I think in terms of arts, I think in terms of diversity of language, interpersonal skills, all the things we need to cross cultures, things that we need to be able to get along, not just on international missions, but going forward in life on whatever system it's going to be, whether it's Earth, the Moon, or Mars, or beyond. I think that's how we'll develop a better base of enjoyment.
All right, it's the last one, and it's perhaps next to you from the most famous astronaut we've had, and that, of course, is Marc Garneau. Here he is.
One of the things that I noticed after my flight in 1984 is that occasionally I would dream about being back in space, I guess because it was now part of my experience. And so, Roberta, my question to you is, since your flight 25 years ago, have you had dreams where you're back in space?
I have had dreams where I'm back in space. They've been quite extraordinary, and they've been in Technicolor too, not in black and white. And they're very, very interesting because they combine things that I either have seen on television that other people are doing, or things that I felt that I've wanted to do when I was in space, or felt that I still could do, or they vault towards some other aspect of something that's either been in a motion picture or the idea. And they've been quite interesting. None of them really has awakened me from sleep looking for the exit sign, or thinking that I'm going to float off my bed, or worrying about the bad food or the bad bathroom. But most of it's been about the excitement about exploration, the excitement about discovery, and the excitement about pushing the frontiers, about being out there, not necessarily the ego part of being the first to do something. That's not it. It's the idea of being able to, with fresh eyes, and it doesn't have to be as the first person who does it, but as oneself looking at something with a new vision, because only an individual can bring that new vision. We all have a new vision of something. We all have a new experience when we see it.
Well, now stay tuned for Viewpoints, our opinion segment that brings a variety of voices to the National. Tonight you'll hear from Elamin Abdul Mahood, the social media editor for BuzzFeed Canada.
This time of year can be tough. It's cold and the days get dark fast. It's pretty easy to get depressed. It can be hard for people to openly talk about their feelings and mental health. But a dedicated group of organizations has been working for years to try to get us to open up to each other. And it is working. Let's talk, they said, and we've started talking. Some of our most loved and respected public figures are taking up the cause. We're taking on the stigma around needing help for mental illness and seeking treatment. So why is the University of Toronto officially recognizing efforts to stop this work? Just recently, U of T, one of this country's top universities, endorsed the Bonnie Burstow Scholarship in Anti-Psychiatry. Dr. Burstow is an associate professor in adult education and community development. She's going to put her own money towards promoting work in the field of anti-psychiatry. Among her beliefs, there is no biological basis for mental illness. Psychiatric drugs, violation of human rights, and psychiatry is foundationless and does not help people. Now, psychiatry does deserve some scrutiny and criticism. After all, its official manual classified homosexuality as a mental illness until 1973. But to reject all the work done by those in the field is absurd. Dr. Burstow says her scholarship is a win for academic freedom. The University of Toronto agrees. But what exactly does academic freedom mean? Both fine and fringe academics defend their work with this phrase. And yes, universities should be the battleground for rigorous debate. But no reasonable person believes this means that all ideas are equal. Some are anti-academic and anti-science. They don't get a defense under academic freedom. Dr. Burstow's scholarship is no different. And universities shouldn't enjoy public funding while propping up such damaging work. And the consequences aren't just academic, confined to a university's ivory towers. There are people in my life, and probably in yours, who feel liberated by society's greater awareness around mental health. People reaching out to be seen, heard, and supported. Now, imagine them seeing this scholarship, supported by the weight of the University of Toronto, funding researchers who believe that mental illness is not real. I think it's time we talk about that too. For The National, I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud.
Well, they are an annual pain for drivers across Canada. But this year, to make things even worse, they've arrived early. Of course, we're talking about potholes. Unseasonably warmer temperatures have exposed the car wreckers in many cities months earlier than normal. And the fix is costly. In Montreal, $20 per pothole. Toronto calls it $25, for a total repair bill of about $6 million a year. Before we go, here's a quick look at a story we're bringing you tomorrow.
I'm Adrienne Arsenault with the story of the Farwan family of Syria. 1 year ago, CBC met all 10 of them, refugees harvesting olives in Jordan. They were on the verge of a big move. Painfully leaving loved ones behind. Finally finding a home in Lethbridge, Alberta. We visited a few times over these last months, watching as they made their way. As they reached the 1 year mark and the end of government sponsorship,
never be afraid of anything.
What will the Farwans do now? That's tomorrow on The National.
That is The National this Tuesday night. For news at any hour, you can always go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm Peter Mansbridge. Thanks for watching.